I don't buy new plastic products or plastic packaging. That's a pretty strong statement, and it's almost true. This is all the plastic that I've generated, plastic waste that I've generated since January of this year. The average American generates about 100 pounds of plastic waste per year. This is under two pounds. And what I have here, I mostly blame on my cats. We make homemade food for them, and we go through one of these every 2 months. I have random things in here. Styrofoam from a gift I got in January. Totally screwed me over. Some friend. I have packing tape from packages when I write to the company and I say, please don't package in plastic, and they send the packing tape anyway. It's just basically stuff that I can't avoid. Prescription bottles, which can't be refilled in California. This is recyclable and non-recyclable plastic. I don't recycle anything, I collect it all. Sushi grass, how unnecessary is that? This looks a little bit extreme. I realize that it is. But my goal is not to tell everyone they should get rid of all the plastic in their life, and that's what they have to do, but just to show what's possible, to use myself as an example to show what's possible. But let me tell you my story. 3 years ago, I was like the average American. I chose double plastic bags at the grocery store on purpose. I drank bottled water and threw the bottles in the trash. I lived on frozen dinners and energy bars wrapped in plastic, and I bought whatever I wanted regardless of what it was made from. I thought I cared about the environment, but I guess I didn't really care enough to do something meaningful. And then, one night, sitting alone at my computer, I stumbled upon the article and the photo that changed my life. The article was about the plastic pollution problem in the ocean. And this was the photo. It was a dead albatross chick carcass filled with plastic pieces, like bottle caps, and things that I used in my everyday life. And all of a sudden, the connection was made. I was harming a creature that I didn't even previously know existed. And I had to stop, just like that. So I asked myself, what would it be like to try to live without plastic? Is it possible? Could I actually do it? I didn't know. So I decided that I would start collecting my plastic waste and looking at it each week and figuring out what alternatives I could use. This is my plastic from week 1, week 2, and this is my plastic from the first 6 months of doing this project. And because I'm an accountant, I created a spreadsheet, and I started tracking all my plastic on the spreadsheet and posting it to a blog that I created called fakeplasticfish.com, which is where I not only track my plastic waste, but I also reveal my ups and downs and also provide plastic-free alternatives, report on the things that I discover. And I've been doing this for about 3 years now, and I've made a lot of discoveries. But you might say, well, what difference does one person living without plastic make when the problem is this, and this, this, this? It's utterly overwhelming. But I say, one person's changes, personal changes, can make a difference. Our personal changes matter. For me, the first reason that I stopped giving up plastic was because I simply couldn't keep doing harm. And when I knew what I was doing, I had to stop. But there are other reasons that people, for doing personal changes that make a difference. For one thing, giving up plastic in our personal lives protects our health and the health of our families. When we know about all the chemicals that can leach out of plastics, we realize it's important to do this for ourselves. And what about the plastics that are supposedly safe, food-safe plastics? Well, the truth is that we don't know if any plastics are safe because they all contain additives that can leach out. And the problem is that companies are not required to disclose the additives that they put in their plastics. So none of us know exactly what's in them. There are antibacterial chemicals that are added to supposedly food-safe plastics that can leach out. And for vegetarians, did you know that animal fat is used to make plastic bags slippery? I just found that out. Another reason that personal changes matter is because they allow us to support ethical businesses that are creating plastic-free alternatives. And the last 3 years, I've discovered so many of them. Instead of going to Safeway, I go to stores where I can bring my own containers and buy food in bulk bins. I shop my farmer's market. I find milk and yogurt in returnable glass jars and bottles. An online company, A Life Without Plastic, is fantastic. They produce all kinds of plastic-free alternatives, and there are other companies like that. There's a new company that's producing lip balms and creams in recycled cardboard compostable containers. And there's a company that does personal hygiene products that are reusable cloth instead of disposable plastic. There are so many other companies that I could list, but the personal changes that we make help support them. Another reason is because it helps us develop our ingenuity and self-reliance. I've got several strategies. I bring my own containers and cups and bags. I even have a glass straw that I bring. Another strategy is to make your own. I made my own mayonnaise. That was a win. I make my own deodorant with baking soda. That's a win. I make my own homemade chocolate syrup. That is an epic win. Pita bread that could be doubled as a weapon is not such a... That would be a fail. And trying to make liquid soap out of solid bar soap is a super slimy, ugly green fail. But I learn something every time I do these things, and it helps develop me as a person, develop my creativity. Another thing is to fix things, fix plastic things that break instead of just running out and replacing them. So I fixed some shoes, I fixed an umbrella with pliers and a paper clip. I got my dad and he helped me fix my plastic blow dryer. And taking my washing machine apart was a 2-week process, but I felt like Superwoman after I actually fixed that. And then the following strategy is borrow, share, repurpose, buy things used. If you do need plastic products, which a lot of us do, why do we always have to buy something new? So I got a crock pot from Craigslist, and when I got kittens, I got a litter box from FreeCycle, and there are tool lending libraries, car shares, thrift stores, clothing from thrift stores, you name it. Why do we have to buy new? Another reason that personal changes matter is because it asks us to examine our values. And I've actually had to give up a lot of things since I've been doing this. And I've had to ask myself, how important are certain things to my life? And examine what matters to me. This stuff is awesome. And it's also really bad for my body. So giving up this type of plastic packaged product is good for me in lots of different ways. I would love to have an iPhone, but is it really something that's going to make me happy, or is it just an extra thing? The things in life that make me happy don't come packaged in plastic. Another reason is because when we've done everything we can as a consumer, and we need something, and we're not willing to do without it, and we can't find it used, and we can't make it ourselves, we get to a point where we have to ask for what we want. When I decided I wanted to use soap nuts to do my laundry, I could only find it packaged in plastic, and so I wrote to the company and asked them to change their packaging, and a month later, they did, just because I asked. On a bigger scale, when I went to change my Brita water filter cartridge, I discovered that in Europe it could be recycled, but here it couldn't. So I wrote to the company that makes Brita, which is Clorox, and I said, recycle it, and they said no, and I said why, and they said because Americans don't care. And so I decided to show them that Americans do care. So I started a campaign, created a website, a petition, asked people to send me their filters, and 7 months and 16,000 signatures and 600 filters later, they did it. They created a way to recycle them. And it was just because I and 16,000 of my best friends asked. And finally, the next reason for personal changes is because once we will get to a point where we've done everything we can and we've asked, we have this investment. We want to know what the outcome is going to be, and we want to make sure that it's a good outcome. So at that point, we're really motivated to work for systemic change. And we need a lot of systemic changes on the legislative level. We need companies to be held responsible for the products that they produce. And we need bans on single-use disposables. And I want to see them be required to disclose the chemicals in those plastics instead of being protected from that. And finally, a reason that personal change matters is because what we do in our personal lives sets an example for others. And whether we are bringing our bags to the store and letting other people see us do it, or teaching children in school, creating an educational display, or making a crazy costume and walking across town, we're letting people see another way to be. And that's why it's so important what we do, because our personal actions are magnified by the example that we set. So what I want to leave you with is, know that we have choices, that our personal actions do matter, that we can all refuse single-use plastics, and not only that, we can refuse to buy the things that advertisers tell us we need to buy just because they tell us we need to buy them. We have the power to change the menu that's been offered to us, and we have the power to change the world.